Congrats on the show.
Oh, thank you.
I am a huge fan of these books. I read them when I was a teenager. James Patterson stuff and Alex Cross is just brilliant. Obviously, the movies, well, the first two movies at least, absolutely fantastic. So to hear these characters brought into a sort of a mini series, if you like, you're getting a second season. I think it gives such a new depth and a new richness to the worlds that we've only just sort of flitted in and out of. You as an actor, what was it like when you read the scripts for the first time? And did you feel that there was a much more of a depth and a richness to them than maybe if you'd have got a film script?
I think that's the best way to describe it. That the films, they are in and of themselves, and the books, that's where you originally got the characters and the histories. But I think what our show does well is it fills in gaps that you may not have gotten in the books. Things that you may not have seen in the movies, characters that may not have been fully fleshed out in the movies. Now you get to see them from a 360-degree like view. You get to from 30,000 feet, as they say, you get to see the world as it's supposed to be seen.
Also, I guess it's good fodder for modern audiences because loads of people love true crime. Loads of people love to watch about this
Oh
fascination
yeah,
with serial killers and investigations, all that kind of stuff. It's proper, has a proper relevancy in
right.
modern times. Did you get a sense that that's why they were trying to pitch this as a series? Because not only do you get the characters and stuff, but it is the themes and the kind of the challenges of it are very much of the real world. People love this kind of stuff these days.
I think there's a reason why James Patterson has sold 100 million books is because he's really got his finger on the pulse of true crime. So
Yeah.
when you take his original concept and his original characters, and you take our showrunner Ben Watkins and you put them together, you're gonna get a show that really explores the true crime world, the universe of Alex Cross.
What was it like reading? I don't want to give any spoilers away, but the first scene, if you like, of the series is quite a blazing start, I have to say. In terms of you
Yeah,
guys are out, and then I won't say any more than that. When you read that for the first time, did it almost feel like, oh, okay, we're being shot out of cannon straight away? We're giving the audience, we're getting them straight into the world with this first scene. So that must have been like, oh, I'm only 3 or 4 pages in.
I actually really loved watching that scene, but because things are shot out of order sometimes,
Yeah.
you may and there's rewrites and different things. You may read something else at the time. So for me, watching that scene I was as much of the audience as I'm sure the audience, like as surprised as they were to see what would happen. And I had to actually like remember. I was like, oh, that's right, we shot that like later, and it is a big bang. You're like, whoa, like, so that's who we're dealing with now. um One of the first scenes that I read, just as getting the audition sides, when I first was auditioning for the role, was a scene between Alex and Samson where they were seated on a porch and talking about, Alex was kind of he's kind of downloading his problems and all the things that he was having, like going through, and why he didn't want to go on this particular date. And I thought it was really funny that his buddy John listened to all that, and he's like, yeah, that's all great, but you need to go on this date. You need to do this for you, because this is how you decompress. This is how you let it all go. Go on this date, have some fun, and enjoy yourself. And I thought that was really cool to see those two characters kind of bond like that.
Yeah, and you talk about. I was going to ask you about the kind of the bond between not just you and Aldis, but the two characters on the page. Because even though it's a show called Cross, he's nothing without Samson, and also vice versa, Samson and Cross, and all that kind of things. What's it like for you guys playing those characters? Because there's so much kind of depth to them, and they have their own flaws, and they kind of, in some ways, cancel each other out. They kind of like the same, if you like, the both sides of the same coin. From different, maybe from different upbringings, but at the same time, they kind of fill in each other's gaps, if you like.
Yeah, I think, when you look at any duo, like, whether it be in sports, whether it be comic books, fantasy, like, you got Batman and Robin, you got Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, things like that. When you look at duos like that, there's always one who takes the lead, and he's kind of leading the charge, but his sidekick or his partner is the one that keeps him grounded and keeps him and lets him do the things he's able to do by keeping him grounded. And I think that John Sampson, that's how he compliments Alex. He really, stands in there and has the hard conversations with Alex, tells him the things that maybe he can't hear from anybody else other than John, because John knows him so well. And being able to play that, we never really discussed it too much because we had some time in Washington, D.C. learning how to become detectives. And I think because since we did that together, we developed this bond that was kind of natural. That wasn't something that was discussed. So then when we got on set and put it on its feet, it was just something that kind of fell together, and it became so natural that the more we worked together, the more natural it became. The more we got scripts and we saw how they were interacting in the scripts, we already knew, how to portray it, because it was something like, well, these are, we understood each other as artists, but we also understood each other as the characters.
There's definitely echoes of Riggs and Murtaugh from Lethal Weapon. I have to say, I watched the first couple of episodes. I was like, oh, there's little bits in there. Yeah, it feels like, maybe not quite as comedic because you're dealing with quite dark subject matters, but at the same time, there's definitely a little ring to.
I think
that.
You'll see hints of a lot of partnerships in there.
Yeah, that one was from the first few episodes that I've seen. That was definitely like, oh, there's nice little Lethal Weapon zing
Awesome.
to it. What's it like actually training to be a detective? Because it's one of those jobs that everyone in their back of their brain would be like, oh, I would love to be a detective. And then, as I say, with all these true crimes and people talking about things on YouTube and all these stories, is it as fun as it sounds, or is it quite demanding to know, even if you learn the basics?
I think it's both. I think it's very demanding, but it's also a lot of fun. And it depends on what kind of person you are. I think if you like to learn, I know Aldis is he loves learning new things. He loves, he's a very intelligent person, a very intelligent actor. So he wants to understand like the world he's in. So I think, coming at it from my point of view, what I like to do is, or what I did was I bought a couple books on just critical thinking and how to kind of think your way through problems. So then once he and I got to DC and we actually got to the detectives division and we got to meet the real detectives, and they explained a little bit of their process without giving us too much, that was just fascinating. But the one thing we did that literally blew both of our minds, we were able to talk to a forensic psychologist, which Alex is in the books and in our series. And she told us, what detectives go through on a personal level and kind of like the problems that may arise based off, having to work on these horrific cases all the time. And then she brought in a detective who was willing to sit down with us and actually talk to us about some of the hardships he's gone through as being a detective. And I mean, I won't go into his story too much because it was personal, but he had experienced some tragedy that he had to actually, get through. And it mirrored Alex's character so much that it really affected both of us and gave us a good insight into how to really, put these characters on screen and be as real as possible.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I'm enjoying the show so far. I've still got a few episodes, but I'm not a huge binge watcher. I'm kind of old school. I like to take my time, all that kind of stuff. But with this particularly, there's a lot to absorb and everything. But so far, I'm enjoying it. So thank you so much for your time, and I wish you all the best with it.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, you guys.